Facebook there.
Hi everyone. I would like welcome to the live chat. Beekeeping, international beekeeping. Welcome James from
Thank
Canada,
you.
Lee from US, and Bob.
Hey,
Also welcome everyone in the chat in here. So um, James is there. Got quite a few here. Let's me go on. Sorry guys, it's got to go. Yeah. So can you introduce yourself, guys, quickly? So James, if you start from James.
Absolutely. So, James McNally, I'm a hobbyist turned sideliner up here in Alberta, Canada. So, I'm running currently about, I have 78 hives in the bee barn waiting to come out this spring and hoping to at least double in size and with any luck, possibly triple here this year. So, I've been beekeeping for about 7 years. I spent the first 6 years trying to learn, what the bees could teach me, as well as learning everything else I possibly could before I decided to, basically kick it off and make it a commercial operation here. So that's me in a nutshell.
Wow, well done. So who's next, James?
good.
Oh, James. Sorry, Lee.
I'm Lee. I'm from the southern part of the United States, down in Louisiana, kind of swampy area. I'm running I had about 30 hives at the end of last fall, and I've lost a little over the winter and everything. So I'm down to between 20 and 25 right now. This is my 4th year of keeping bees, and I'm trying to make it just a small sideline business. Eventually, I'm hoping probably a maximum of 100 to 150 hives total.
Wow, that's quite a few.
And
What's about Bob?
well, I'm also on my 4th year of beekeeping. Lee and I just coincidentally started around the same time, and I don't have as many hives as Lee does, or James for that matter. And
you did earlier in the year.
I did. I had 60 at one point of different sizes and varieties. However, the one thing that I have learned this year is that I know absolutely nothing about beekeeping.
Yeah, always learning.
Oh my gosh. The more I think I know, it seems the less I actually know. And some things, these chats are great because you're able to, talk to people, and it may be something that but then it's either a confirmation of your thoughts, or you might get a different perspective on how to do some things, and this year was I was a little actually dejected. I mean, James will tell you, right? I was like, man, I don't know about this beekeeping stuff, because it feels like the more I do and the more I think I'm growing, it's going backwards, right? So we got a game plan. We do have a plan. So that's the main thing that I'm learning. Some of the stuff that I was kind of like, I don't care about marking the queens, and I don't care about there's no real goal in it. I would like to do this, and if it happens, it happens. But now it's more of a it's not on paper yet, though, I will say that, but it is a plan of action on reaching the next steps and making that happen. So that's kind of where I'm at this year.
Great. So I'll introduce myself. So I'm Sebastian. I'm running beekeeping a few years as well. I'm running right now. After I lost 27 colonies I have. Few nukes going through. We're doing really well so far. I'm breeding my queens myself last year. I started properly last year. I've been done before, but I just started properly last year, and I requeened most of my queens. Only left a couple of very good queens where I, focus on them. They could give you a future for the next few years. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I could say beekeeping is something what I love to do, and not just That's why I call it beekeeping and gardening, because I love do gardening as well. We do gardening, and I've probably you did see I did actually broke the Guinness World Record last year. I grew the largest cucumber in the world, and so achieve records like that doesn't come in overnight, and we know
Mhm.
that
It
that
takes some
doesn't
work.
come. Yes, that's years and years, and that record was 12 years before was broke down, and person were holding up for 12 years. Nobody could coming in that close, and I just destroyed that actually. So, and not just one, I actually grew two, and both of them beat the record. So it was like stamp on the record big time. So
And how big was your cucumber, if you don't mind me asking?
113.4 centimeters, nearly
Uh,
nearly nearly 4 foot long.
there you go. There you go. Well done.
Yeah. So So beekeeping is for me it's quite important, and I know I could one day I could step into a bee farming possibly. But it's all about a lot of people talking about before you go a higher ladder, make sure you have enough equipment, make sure time is right. This is very important, and I try and build them up my stock. Basically, the bees is so important for me, guys, because the queens, make sure they're all good queens and they're strong colonies. Because without these two things, you can't expand your colonies. You could have 100 boxes in there, and the 100 boxes will never be used because if your queens start failing and all that stuff, and then good selection queens is the number one.
You've been watching my videos because that's how my yard is. I got all the equipment and no bees to fill it right now.
Well, I see you got I see you got listen boxes. Yeah, they're good boxes. They are probably new on the market in US now, but he's powerful. He's where I come from. He's probably 25-minute drive of my house. That's what his business been starting years ago when I was a young lad. So, and funny actually is he's the same age as me. And he's selling his product around the world, which is really, I'm really pleased for him. But and like I say, it's all coming in running global. He's doing the bees, UK, everywhere. His hives are and equipment. I know James looking on his some of his. I think you're looking for the line. I'm right, James.
I'm reviewing his extraction line. That is correct. Yep.
Yeah. So and I'm not saying it's got good stuff, but I will look in somewhere else as well.
Oh, I'm looking at lots of places. Absolutely. So
yeah,
I'm looking at the Cowans. I'm looking at a lot of it. So
yeah. So I have 20 frames extractor, which is a coin from Hungary. They are probably one of the second largest in Europe on equipment selling big lines as well after Swinty. Yeah. So they're quite powerful as well. They're very nice. What I don't like when you got engine on top, your machine on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you put the frames in, it's all the engines, all the on top. That's how listen you have.
That's how mine is.
Yeah. No, okay. So my one is on the side, completely on the side. You can't see that. You can't got no problem. You not have nothing falling down to the pot with honey. It's completely off. There's nothing on top. It's just got the lids open. You put our frames in. That's it. So that's very important because when you got when you're running a lot and they're coming in check your say they could pop up and check your equipment what you're doing, and they could ask them extractor why you got the engine on top, how you get. They could be question for you how you go and be just example. No, it doesn't fooling anything inside.
I've got a license and mine's under the bottom.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. That's the only thing I don't like about mine. I have a 20 frame Dadan and it has the motor on top.
Yes, that's right. Oil could popping up. Yeah, you need to drop oil. We know in the factor that can go down 1 or 2 drops of oil, and that could cause a serious problem
Now, like
You know,
mine,
this is
I have a food grade grease
Yeah.
that I can use
Exactly.
yeah.
instead of the oil.
Well, and that's
But
Well,
yeah, I would still prefer it being either on the side or the bottom. That way, it's out of the
Yeah.
way. It's easier to work.
Yeah,
This is-
I
was
be
just
honest,
gonna
I
say,
work
this
in
is-
with yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I used to work in a food factory for 11 years. So I know procedure of food really well. I have in my head because I was one of the person which has got a lot of things, a lot of food procedure went through my hands. So I know exactly what should be respect. And that's big no because all the machines what we did, when they produce the food, all have been removing engines or anything's on top. The mixing procedure was out. Basically, there was be moving on the side, so it doesn't get anything inside directly to end of inside in your product.
Yeah.
So like James, you imagine you spinning. Just example, you spin 20 frames, and then you find out later you got some oil inside from engine.
Right. So this is perfect because here we've got 3 different individuals,
Yeah.
4 different individuals from 3 different countries. So this kind of ties in really good to your international beekeeping here. So regardless as to what country you're in, it is important to understand the rules around the food grade products. So here in Canada, we've got the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. They're very strict, which is a great thing.
Absolutely,
they're very strict as to what you can and can't do, what you can and can't use. And yes, we're very much the same thing up here. So anything you use like that on any of the production lines or any of the food preparation equipment, it must be certified food safe. It must be an approved product, and you can't substitute any of that. So regardless as to whether we're in Canada, Canada, the UK, or the USA, you really have to understand and look to see what the rules and regulations are for the area in which you're in. And there are some, you wouldn't think so, but there are some very big differences that I've noticed already just between Canada and the US. So I haven't researched a whole lot over in the UK, but I'm going to guess there's probably a few deviations there as well.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So in a small operation, it's completely different was on a big operation.
Yeah.
But all capped to food standard. So basically, you have to get hard certificate if you're running small operation. You have to get hard certificate and everything else. You make sure it's all apply to your hard certificate. And if you're bee farmer, you're running 150 hives or 200 hives. Then we're talking at completely different story altogether. They guys, there's a huge, like you, James. Now you're trying stepping into that line of beekeeping in back in Canada. That's where you got to be in there now. So every country have different, So
It's like here in South Louisiana. I mean, if you're producing under a certain amount, you're just kind of a hobbyist. You can work what they call under the cottage industry.
Yes.
You don't have to have all your inspections, but you still want to be clean, safe, and everything else. But once you go to another level in Louisiana, you have to go through the Department of Health and Hospitals, and they will come out and inspect your equipment. They'll inspect the lighting to make sure you have the correct lighting in your room.
Exactly.
No matter what angle you stand at, that light has to be able to hit your hands. That way, if you were using a knife or what have you, that you can't be injured and contaminate anything.
Yeah,
that's right.
Brian there from Flower Street brings up a great point. With the United States, with the 50 states, you have 50 different sets of rules, right? So it just depends where you're located. Like 50 different countries, basically.
Yeah.
And
that's another story as well. US is a big country, and every state have different rules of food, which should be one rule all across the board.
It makes it kind of hard, especially if you were to move or you're working across state lines back and forth.
Well, you imagine you move 2 miles and there's a border is 2 miles, a different state.
Yeah.
And you just move like 100 meters from the borders to the state. You have to go apply for to their rules again. So So anyway, so I got one question. So I know you all of you watching Bruce stream team.
Hmm.
I love this stream team, honestly, guys. I love your guys here as well. Sometime when at night time when I've got time, I could spend a couple of minutes and watch it. I've got questions. What are you doing Varroa treatment? Because in Canada it's completely different. All Varroa, we all be fight with Varroa. So
For me here in
what
South
you
Louisiana, the only thing
yeah
that I've used so far is the acrylic acid vapor.
yeah
I have the new Insta Vape from
yeah
Larabi's here in the U.S.
yeah from Rob
It's built overseas, but he's the U.S. distributor of it. And before that, I was using Larabi's 110 version that you plug in. And
the electric one.
I've been happy with it so far. I haven't used any other treatments and not much of a problem.
Yeah, you got
Now,
success with this.
Yeah. Where I live, we would have more of a problem with the hive beetles than we do the varroa mite. Because where I live, I mean, it's close to the swamps and I mean, just wetlands around here. And all the humidity and moisture, it just breeds hive beetles.
Yeah. So Bob, you using it as well?
I'm using Apivar in the spring, and in the fall I'm using oxalic acid. So, and I've got a ProVap 110 that I've been using.
Yeah. Well, same to the old one from Rob.
No, I got the. No, I didn't get the Larabi's. Actually, I bought my vaporizer before Rob was selling vaporizers. So,
all right.
Yeah, I didn't get in on that show. I
didn't get on the show.
Yeah, I had the original Larabi's vaporizer for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then at Hive Life in January this year up in Tennessee, we had a big conference and I bought the battery operated Insta Vape there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
James treats his with snow.
So
no, he tell them to go outside, wash yourself up in snow, come back.
and then come on back in. So it's interesting that Varroa is something that we are fighting worldwide. It's something that I think is underestimated in all of the beekeeping industry, whether you are a hobbyist, a sideliner, or a commercial guy.
Yes.
I think it's something that it's not going away. It's quite obvious. It's not going away right now. So I think we have part of the problem now. This is completely my opinion. I don't have the data to back this up. So I think we have part of the problem because the problem was not understood. We have two types, in my opinion, we have two types of commercial beekeepers up here in Canada. So we've got beekeepers who want to look after the best health and everything like that for the bees. And then we have honey producers who the bottom line is simply honey, and I think that has hurt the industry quite a lot up here because the honey producers, it costs to treat for Varroa, whether you're using oxalic acid or whether you're using Apivar or formic acid or any of these treatments, it costs money. And the large honey producers, of course, have a large number of hives. We have one producer here in Alberta. I think he was running 10,000 hives. And there was a huge story put on we have what's called CTV News over here. It's kind of the local news channel. And last year, right in the spring, he was on the CTV News saying how he lost 60% of his hives. Now, think about that just for a minute. So if you're running about 10,000 hives and you lose 60% of your hives, you've lost 6,000 hives. If we would have, and he blamed it, so they went through the whole story, and he said it was the Varroa mite that destroyed those 6,000 hives. So average loss over here for a beekeeper, somebody who actually looks after their bees, does the mite wash, understands what's going on there, say 10 to 30%, I think. That, once again, these numbers, I don't have the data in front of me, so don't get hung up on the numbers. But because they took the time to understand what was going on in their hive, they took the time to understand what the infestation was, and more specifically, they spent the money to treat for them. So whatever that dollar value was, if you watch some of the videos that we did here earlier, Brad with Faith Apiaries over in Manitoba had mentioned. So there's an auction that goes on in Manitoba every year, and it's usually right at the beginning of the season. So last year, a nuke went for $600.
Wow.
So this is
that's big.
So now just put that in perspective. So you've lost 6,000 hives, and to even come close, you're going to replace that with about 6,000 nukes. And if you had to buy them, now obviously he probably didn't. He probably split and everything. But if you had to buy them, you're buying a nuke to replace a full hive, and everybody knows that's about half of a hive, give or take, right? So the dollar value to do that was far, far less than what it would have been to treat for the Varroa mite.
Yes.
You know? So the other thing that you have to take a look at that is some of these operators that are operating like this and didn't properly evaluate what Varroa would do to you. You've got 10,000 hives out there that are infested. Yeah. And unfortunately, we know bees don't stop, at the edge of your property. So you've got all of these hives out there infesting everybody else's hives too. So huge problem. So I think the first problem we had was people didn't understand or realize the infestation that was coming our way.
That's right.
I do. So I've, like I said, I was a hobbyist for many years before I decided to flip over into a sideline. But one of the things that I realized very early on is I have to know what's going on in that hive. And I want to be a beekeeper, not a honey producer. So in order for me to do that, I have to understand what's going on in the hive. I have to understand what this Varroa infestation meant and how to treat for it. So there is no magical answer out there yet. So I've right now, my current Varroa treatment is much like Bob's. So I'll use Apivar early on in the spring. I'll do a wash to see, when I first bring them out of the barn, I'll do a wash to see what my infestation's like over the summer, or pardon me, over the winter. So I know what I have going into the summer. I currently use Apivar strips in the spring, and then in the fall, so because I'm a sideline, I have a full-time job as well. So in the fall, I use oxalic acid, but I have a little bit of a different regiment, if you would. So what I did last year is I get my weekends off. So every 7 days, I hit every one of my hives with an oxalic acid treatment. So they got treated 4 times inside of a month with that oxalic acid. So I should have completely covered at least one brood cycle, partly the second one too. Yeah. Now, something else to note, I'm quite fortunate where my large apiary is. I have no other bees for about, I drove around. So, I mean, I don't know what anybody has in their backyards, but, driving around and taking a look, I had the next closest apiary I had to me was about 8 miles away. So
that's quite distance.
So that works in my favor. And one of the things when we had our local tech program, so Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, we all have our tech programs that share data back and forth. I was quite happy to announce that when they came and they did my testing, I had zeros clear across the boards. So of all the tests they took from the hives, I had, basically 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So they, I started off very, very low last year. My mite wash last fall, when I went into the bee shed, I was less than 2%, but I treated them with that oxalic acid anyways. I wanted to make sure that I was giving my bees the absolute best chance I could before I put them into a confined space location for 5+ months.
So I treating Varroa heavily. I'm not messing about with this. My bee's life is like it's one of the key Varroa for me. So the season starting in spring to save the bees through the winter next year. It doesn't start in what people think in autumn, September, October. Oh, that's too late now. That's
try to keep them strong year round.
I was going to say, you could almost say you started last fall for your survival of the
Yes.
bees this spring, is how I like
But
to look at it.
I do hear, but we got different weather here, James. So James,
Absolutely.
the weather here is favorable, massive favor for the Varroa, because we don't have winter like you, James, or probably Bob over there, or Ollie. The temperatures here, where I come in the south of England, this year we have quite minus temperatures hit us. But for the probably in 18 years there was no winter. Like there was maybe one winter where we have cold, but now this year the first time we got a few weeks cold, and we got nice warm again. But normally winter here is 12 plus 12. So Varroa love that temperature. That is the perfect temperature for them to survive. Bees,
That's Celsius.
there's 12 Celsius, yeah. So they're perfect for them. They just surviving and just moving on. And as soon as him come in spring, they already heavily on the Varroa. So what I normally do in December. First of all, what I done last year, I could tell you this last year. How I done last year. So in September, end of August and September, I put Uppy Guard. I decided Uppy Guard for one reason. I was watching Bob Bennett and watching, and I actually messaged to him and emailed a couple of times things in him, and he said he's using, and he strongly believe this is good product to use, but make sure don't make sure the size of the bees and temperature. What's the temperature and the size of the hives what you have or nooks you have, how much you put in there. I done it, and I tell you what, it was serious drops of mites because I put a bottom of boards I put in there to checking up, and some of them I have mesh floor, some of them I have full floor. So I checked the map. Some of them it was crazy how much it was, and I was like, okay. So next steps is when the brood it's finished. That was coming in first week of December. That was quite rainy. Quite temperatures dropping down a little bit, and I hit in that time. So I wipe off every 5 days, 4 times every 5 days, and I hit them when they start brooding. Because in last year, I think it's week and a half before Christmas, we have a temperature come up to 20. You could go in the shorts, you could go outside in New Year, which was crazy, like summer. So you imagine what happened in the hive. The bees think is the spring coming, so they just start brooding again. So that time I managed hit that time heavily, and then I hit end of January. I hit twice again, and I didn't hit anything to again end of August, and that was give me massive advantage of Varroa. So far I lost 3 colonies.
You lost three. Sorry, you lost three colonies. You figure from the Varroa.
One is a queen. She was 3 years old. She went. I was planning to change her, but I was thinking about. I'll leave her for another season. We'll see if she survives winter. If she survives winter, then I will make a split from her, because old queen from her quite nice performing. They're not, they're really honeybees. You know what I mean? Honeybees. They when there's a flow come, they just wow. You could stand on the hives, behind the hive, but on the front you will not stand, because that's how they work when there's a flow come.
Yeah, that's how mine are. I mean, mine are nice as long as I have a flow going. If there's no flow, I mean, if there's a flow, I can go out there in a short sleeve shirt and no veil.
Yeah.
But if it's a dearth, nothing coming in, you better suit up because they're going to get you.
Yeah.
They're very defensive.
So that's exactly what happened. And I believe this is the key. Hit them every 5 days in Varroa, especially when there's a brood break, where they don't have the brood. Yeah. And that's how I done it.
The brood break absolutely is critical, because I mean, as
everybody
knows,
right.
that's how the Varroa multiplies. So the Varroa multiplies by laying that egg in that cell. The first laying multiple eggs in the cell. The first
Yeah.
the first egg she lays will be a male, or almost like the bee. It'll be unfertilized, and then the other 3 or 4 will be female. So that's the trick is to get them in there inside that cap cell before they can emerge. So that's why the brood break is critically important.
Yeah.
Which we don't have.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's part of my problem here in South Louisiana. We don't hardly have a brood break. We pretty much have brood year round.
So,
So when I do the oxalic acid treatment, I do mine every 5 days for 25 days.
So here's a question for you, Lee and Bob. Have you guys created a brood break? Have you tried to do that?
I haven't created an artificial break myself.
I haven't either.
So that would be something to consider. I mean, it could be something as queening your queen up inside for a little bit. Now you always got to be careful doing that, but
like a Pushkin cage.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you use something like that. Bob, you and I were talking about it earlier this morning. What's that queen rearing?
The Nicot.
The Nicot system.
The Nicot system.
Maybe you can lock her in there for 3 or 4 days. That would give you that brood break, right?
But I think what you can do, I know when you watch Richard Noel from France, where he was on Hive Life, I think you did see Richard was talking about how he does a brood break, how he caging queens. So that's really important. And I believe in the time when you got the 24 or 25 days, that is the time when you could wipe off Varroa. And that is, wipe off all, but you will make a massive benefit for your bees, for yourself, and they will manage more, But exactly. I think Richard mentioned about that, and just James popped up to that. I think it will definitely worth it to do it. Yeah. You don't need to do all of hives in one hit, but you can do actually all of them. If you got 30 hives, you could do all 30 hives for the 21 days. You cage the queen for 21 days, and in that time, when the brood breaks is gone, brood. Because the biggest problem is when the Varroa, when it's in the cell, you basically the Varroa is in the cell. As soon as there's a cup, you're not going to kill her. She will stay inside. So she's safe, basically. She's in a bunker and she's safe. She's nobody going.
About the only way you're going to kill it once it's capped is depending on your temperatures, like a formic acid or doing a full treatment. But in the South where I'm at, we can't really use formic acid.
No.
It's too.
This time of year I could use it probably, but I think there's a minimum temperature as well, right?
Yeah, for formic acid, it's be careful with that. I will say no for you if you don't go risk for that.
Well, there's keys to all of this. So just to answer a little bit of the comment that you got here down below right now. So anybody that follows Ian, and I've had the extreme fortunate opportunity to talk to Ian on a couple live streams and stuff like that lately. He's finding the Apivar followed by the oxalic acid in the fall. So if you take a look, I think he also used Apivar last fall as well. So he's seeing a few things there that are I'm not going to say issues, but there's some concerns. So he's got some concerns with continuing that treatment down there. So that's pretty much what I do. It works well. I know I hit him a few extra times in the fall with the oxalic acid, but I'm not running 1,500 hives at this point in time. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're using formic, whether you're using Apivar, Apigard, any of these treatments. It's really key to understand how those treatments work and what the response in the hive is to those treatments. So whether it's formic, whether it's Apigard, you really have to stick to those temperatures. You have to look at your forecast. You have to understand what's happening in the hive before you use any of those treatments. All of these treatments are exactly that. It's going to have positive effects and they're going to have negative effects, and you have to understand where they're at. Now, if we back up a little bit to let's say caging a queen. So everybody knows if you cage a queen for any period of time and you prohibit her from laying, her performance is going to stagger, or it's going to stumble. Maybe that's a better way to put it. So for Lee and Bob, if I was going to try and create an artificial brood break without hindering my queen's laying capacity or laying program, if you would, I would, as I stop and think about this, I mentioned the NICOT system earlier, and I want to back up. I actually don't think that would be a great, I mean, it would be a option, but I don't think it would be a great option. And the reason I say that is you're going to slow that queen down. She's going to lay up that little NICOT system very, very quickly. You might be better off to use something like a timing frame or something along those lines, which would give her, a day or a couple days where she wouldn't have to slow her laying down and, to develop that brood break. And then if you were concerned about the larva, you could treat it almost like a drome cone. So once you're done, you could pull her out of that. You could drop that in the freezer, but you're not going to slow your queen down. So we just got to kind of think and understand sometimes as to what these do. And, I've caught myself a few times where it's like, I got an idea. You go out there. And I didn't think of the negative effects. So just food for thought.
So I watching Ian quite a few times since I started beekeeping. So Ian is so I'll give you a little bit more about Ian. I follow Ian method quite heavily, and I try to introduce some of them in here, and some of them really well work for me. So and I know what you say, James. Yeah, some of the things that concern him, and I know that's a lot of things. When you run 1,500 hives, you got to watching what you actually put in the hives, if that works or not, because like you mentioned before, you could lose 50-60% of hives, which is a costage, a huge.
Absolutely.
And now, 50%.
And can be avoided. If you check with other beekeepers, or So there's a lot about communication with in that system, and beekeepers run the area in the clubs and also in all industry beekeeping. Also, I did watching about Varroa last night. Came on with Corey.
So VSH.
Yes, Corey is I like what Corey does. One day I will get him on the chat in here, 100%. Because a lot of beekeepers, they would like to know, especially here, we would like to know, because this is very, very important for us, for industry now. This bees what Corey does, because I think if we minimize to treatment what you do, and you got the bees where they actually can reduce the varroa from themselves and all this disease, that is a very powerful tool now.
Well, I think I think there's a lot we are learning about VSH breeding. Corey, I sat in on Corey down at the Hive Life. Very, very interesting, very, very knowledgeable.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I think he's got a lot that is going to be contributing to the beekeeping industry going forward.
Yes.
The other, of course, that's the optimist in me. The pessimist in me sits back and says, well, there's also a lot that we don't know about this. There's a lot that we don't know, this type of breeding, what it does. So I'm excited. I'm very excited about the idea and the thought. And I'm right now, I'm looking at it wide open. I mean, let's see where this goes. So Corey's put a lot of time into it.
There's a flip side of that too. So I watched that video last night that we were talking about with from Randy Oliver. And Randy Oliver very clearly, and it was conveniently enough, it was a live stream that he was doing a presentation for a channel in the UK, right? And people did ask him about the VSH, and he said, don't believe, don't buy into it. And what he said was, with his 3,000 colonies, that he started at, I think, he said it was less than 1%, and I forget the exact number, but after years and years of 8 years of doing it, he's only up to 18% of his colonies that show VSH tendencies. And he said the problem is if you're secluded, okay, you might get higher numbers, but most beekeepers, especially on our levels, right, smaller level beekeepers,
that's right,
are not secluded. So it's very hard to seclude that drone population to ensure that you're mating with other Varroa sensitive genes, right? So it's very hard to get that. And he said he's surrounded with thousands of drones and his own drones, and he can only, after several years, is only at 18%.
Well, and I guess if you look at that. Oh, go ahead, Lee.
I was just going to say, as far as being secluded away from other apiaries where I'm at, I have a commercial apiary. They're probably about 6 miles from me, and they usually run around about 500 hives. Well, one of their out yards is probably less than a mile from me through the woods here. So, I mean, even if I did treat and say they didn't, which I know they do, but say if they didn't, their bees could still come into my area and you would get that infection.
That's right. And that is the biggest problem. You know, we can't just so even if you breeding queens and mating, you have the VSH mating will be everywhere, because you got one is a commercial beekeeper, maybe a couple miles away is another commercial beekeeper, which is a mix. It might works. It might works. Cody believe that works. Cody running a few hives,
but he's still trying to collect our data, and he's still trying to prove a lot of this. So I think he's got a lot of it there, but this is where I'm saying there's still myself. I'm still hesitant, but I'm excited for the possibility. Maybe that's the way to put it.
Yes,
right.
I believe this. I believe that can be done. He's done a lot of science behind that. And you can see the bees, people reckon they performing really well. So Cayman reckons the bees quite nicely over the winter. So we will see. I will watching and carry on, see what's happened, see how they performing, how he did performing. But in UK, you know what, I treat him Varroa without question. Not let him basically myself to thinking they will be okay. No.
See, my local commercial apiary, I've bought I've bought nukes from them, but I've also bought a couple of queens. Now they don't call their bees VSH, but they do say that they're hygienic Italian queens.
So they know there's something there.
Yeah. Now, how much, or even if there is a percentage, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. They're good thing you have in that way. They that someone have this queens, which is good. The worst thing if they didn't have it, but they do have queens from Corey, which they possibly they're working on this bees, because if they were going through the winter without issues, and their bees were basically going down, crash, then they will change that, flip over the other way around. So I believe we have to wait, like James mentioned, we have to wait, see what happens next 2 years, how Corey make the job.
Which is tough because I'm not always a patient kind of guy.
Yeah.
I mean, the only downside to it, to me, if you're in a controlled situation where there's no other apiaries, nothing around you, and you get to that, say 100% VHS capacity, okay, you sell that bee to somebody else, and you're going to try to breed queens off of it. If you're in another area where there is other apiaries around, or just wild colonies, feral colonies,
that's right.
When that queen goes out to mate, who's to say she's mating with another VHS drone? So, I mean, they could slowly breed that VHS back out of it.
And I think that's part of what you're looking at. So I think in order to make this work, you may be looking at having to isolate them, or possibly maybe more of the artificial insemination to maintain that going forward. I mean, I've looked at that. No secret. I think I've told everybody. I mean, I have the equipment still sitting in the box. Something I've been taking a look at doing is possibly some of the AI. Right now, I just don't have time. Right now, I mean, all of this takes time. And could you imagine trying to artificially inseminate 1,500 queens?
Wow.
I was looking at it, but just a little contraption to do the queen, put her in upside down, this and that. The one that I was looking at, which, yeah, granted it cost more, but I found it to be a better quality one that would last. You still looking about $2,000.
Yeah, I think I bought the next step up. So I bought the one with the little regulator and everything like that. Now I did buy it a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that was without the regulator though.
Yeah, so I think the system that I bought included the forceps and the camera because, well, right?
Yes, you got the camera,
I think it was closer to the 4,800 US. So, Bob and I keep joking all the time. So I mean, $4,800 is nothing to blink at, and that
I got that
Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. Couple million Canadian, right? Our exchange between the Canadian dollar and the US dollar right now, horrible. And so
that's why I'm liking my camera that I have right here as far as like doing my queen graft and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
That's a good one. That's
$30 on Amazon.
Yep.
What's
I
that?
think it was $25 for that camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the USB camera.
Well, send me that link if you don't mind, Lee.
I'll do that.
So, I've got the Amazon Bring It Down. You look like what the heck was that guy's name? Jordy off of Star Trek.
Lee's got one
with these two big. Your eyes look like this when you look through them, but my daughter laughs at me when she sees it. So
you're like a board. You
exactly.
will not.
Look at him. He's ready for grafting. Look,
there you go.
Lee is ready for grafting.
Perfect.
Wow, that's the way it is. Yes.
Now, and in no way, shape, or form, but one of the things I found too was holding that frame at the right angle really makes a huge difference, so that you can see down in there to graft.
Right.
So I got tired of trying to find one, so I made one for myself.
Well, the frame for the stand on an angle, correct angle, is very important. Standing.
Yeah, I made a whole grafting table. So, and actually, oddly enough, I've sent those things all over the world too. So
I was about to say you made one for yourself, and then you started making them for everybody else.
Well, I made one for myself because I got tired of trying to sit that frame up against the box or on my steering wheel or something, and it was always falling off. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So it literally was January, I think 2 or 3 years ago. I was out in my it's got to be at least 2 years ago now, but I was out in my woodshed, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna find something. So I searched Amazon, I searched the internet, I couldn't find anything. And then I found something close or similar, I think, on one of the YouTube channels. I think it was like Trevor's Bees or something like that. And I thought, you know what, I can improve on that. And I think 14 or 15 versions later, I came up with something.
Send me version 13. That'll be fine.
So yeah, that's another thing is important when you're grafting. You got the right angle. You have to get the right angle, and it's so important. Some people doesn't know. We just whack at the frame on and then just grafting. But actually, like you mentioned, that's quite important to get.
Well, it's really important so that you can see down in that cell. So Bob and I were talking about this a little bit earlier this morning. It's crucially important depending on the quality of queen you want. I mean, you want that larva that is hatched 24 hours or less. And in order to do that, they are small. And that's, selecting the right larva, making sure that you've got the best possible larva for that queen, making sure that you've got
the right size.
Exactly. The bees to properly feed that queen, and the nutrition right close to that grafting cell. That's what's going to give you the quality queens.
Yeah, that's what I'm wanting to try more of this year. And from what I'm hearing, I mean, basically, as long as all you basically can see with your bare eye is royal jelly and you can't even see the larva, that's the one you want. Because it means it's young enough to go ahead and graft. It ain't big enough, too old.
Yeah,
Well,
that's right.
Actually, I think I was mentioning that too. I listened to you guys last night on that one. So that's not incorrect.
Yeah.
But you're guessing. I would just assume make sure that you had that magnifying, use your camera or whatever you have. So you're not guessing at the larvae, you're getting the best possible larva in there. So that's the way I kind of like to look at it.
You still kind of look for the comma instead of the C? Or how do you judge?
I even go one step further. So I use a timing frame. So I'll drop a timing frame in there. I'll put my queen on that, and I'll come back 4 days later, and any egg in there that's hatched, I know she's going to start laying on day 1. Day 2, day 3, the egg hatches, and basically, as long as I'm in there between day 3 and day 4, anything that's hatched in there is less than 24 hours old.
Okay.
So, when we do grafting, I'm normally doing the same as James does, but I have a frames where they draw already, they're already prepped. So I take a frame up for grafting, I move the frame somewhere else, and I put it in the same place. Preparation again, empty, clean frame again. So they're cleaning up quickly for her, and she's laying again. And I will come back again a couple of days later and graft from that. That's how I do.
Exactly. So you're doing the exact same thing.
Very easy.
It's all about preparation, and then there's no guesswork, right?
No guesswork. No.
If you can't see the larva in there, how do you know that it's 24 hours old or less? I mean, my eyesight might be a little bit worse than anybody else, and maybe I can't see that larva until they're 4 days old, 5 days old.
That's right.
So,
did you see this? I just post something in the chat. If someone wants to have a look, it's
from Germany.
This is from Germany. Bob, this is something very interesting. I was watching, and I actually spoke to the guy in one of the shows, and I actually did a bit talking about this before, but nobody thinking that's good. But I see this is something where it's possibly good for our beekeeping, because they're using in Austria, they're using in Germany quite heavily now. So what they do, they take frames out from the hives. They put some liquid in. I don't know the liquid what's in there, but they put liquid inside in the box, and there is a plug-in electrics, and basically the varroa is going out of each frame. They take each frame of the hive and they move them in there. They take a couple of minutes, few minutes, and they're moving this, and they do, I think they do 2 times, and all the varroa, apparently because of the temperature, and they basically wipe the varroa off. That's very interesting, a product to look into. It's not cheap, but it must be affect hugely, because I see they're using it heavily in the beekeeping in Germany, which beekeeping in Germany is not small, it's big. And they start using in Poland as well. I did see some of beekeepers in Poland, they start up on the market as well. They start to using. They reckon that's good. So they try not to using chemical, try using that. That's a very interesting product to look into. They cost €2,600. Some of them,
$3,000.
the big one, $3,000. Yeah, but they not this product. They don't using just buy some yourself, Bob. You could buy with Lee. Just example, between you 4 guys, you could buy it, and between you 4 guys, you use it, run your area.
Yeah.
So you actually, I did see this. I was asking here, thinking about that, because in UK we was thinking about that, get them to UK. Sorry, 33 mils. You could change their language there for English.
Yeah, that's what I did. As soon as I loaded the site, it said translate, and it asked me, did I want English or something else?
Yeah, well, it's 33 mils bill. Phil asked him. Yeah, you can change that on there.
He found
it. Well done, man. Yeah. So basically, if you get a 3 or 4, you could get that, and you could actually there's a videos, they have quite videos film on YouTube and all that stuff. And I know they're using an Austria, one of the beekeeper, which is a farmer, bee farmer. He's using this for the last 5 years now. And he doesn't use chemical at all. He's actually Polish man. He's moved in Austria years ago, and he's just bee farming heavily in the mountains over there, and he's using that box. And I actually spoke to people actually got the boxes, and I was thinking about there's a couple of people together and buy that box and see how that work. But possibly that box is more worth to buy it, and we're doing a chemical every year because they're doing twice. I know they're doing twice. They come at the time when they're coming into I watching video and they take your frames out. They take your frames out the caging queen, so make sure she's safe, and they take your frames out and then they put the frames back, and then it's all properly with fight with Varroa that way. So if someone would like to have a look in there, just have a look, guys. This is something interesting, definite. This is the war, Varroa war.
I'll have to open it up and take a look. I'm just trying to think, how long would that take me to go through, say, a couple hundred hives? That would be a lot of time, a lot of labor.
Yeah, but then you got looking, find if that work, that might be actually something where you could invest there to do it.
I'm working on a few other things up here right now, so I've done a few tests this winter, so I'm extremely excited to see what my Varroa washes are going to be like when I pull my bees out of the barn here. So in fact, I'll be pulling my drone colonies out. I was talking about Alan with that today, so it's +7 or +8 here degrees Celsius here today, which is really uncommon. But I'll be looking at pulling my drone colonies out and getting their heaters and stuff like that turned on here right shortly to get them going. So I've got drones nice and early. So
you got to hear, like say Varroa War, World War V. Yeah, that's right. Correct. That's correct. Basically, this is something where I did see that for the last few years now. And I think this is something, and I see more often people using that in Europe. So that's something where is worth to look into. Bob,
the cowboy, I see Michael on there. This cowboy's still on his horse, so we'll have to figure it out from there. Kind of a bit of an inside joke. But Ian called me a cowboy here down at Hive Life. So
are you?
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, cowboy. Oh wow! How far are you from Ian?
He's I don't know how much of Canada you know or the geography over here, but I'm as close to the BC border pretty much as you can get. So you'd have to go all the way across Alberta, all the way across Saskatchewan, and halfway across Manitoba. So it would be probably 15, 16 hours driving time.
Wow, long time. Wow, long time. Yeah, that's long time to go down there to Ian. Bob, how is your boxes? You put them together, did you? Listen.
Yeah, I've got them together. This is kind of morphed out of control with the license equipment.
Kinda. I think Brad hit that right on the head last night. You've got the most gadget to bee population of anybody we know.
Yeah, so I started because of the 3 6-frame nukes, being able to put those under the 2 10-frame colonies. And
Sebastian, real quick, I'll pull up that picture of Bob's system that he's working on if you want to.
Yeah, that's all right. Come on in.
And the problem is that Lyson doesn't use standard thicknesses for their deeps and their nukes. So the deeps are 7/8 of an inch thick.
Yeah.
And the nukes are 7/8 of an inch thick, and the nukes are about 2 inches thick, or the deeps are 2 inches thick. So they don't set even with each other when you stack them up. So now I've went to ordering 7/8 wood to go on top of my 3 licensed poly nukes to try to achieve the same thing. And
you know what I'm gonna ask though, right, Bob?
What's that?
Is that 7/8 Canadian or US?
Both.
Hey, Sebastian, if you look at the bottom down there, they got that picture there. If you want to share that, what Bob was talking about, the thickness of the wall, it's got a bad overhang on them.
So
Did you send me?
It should be in the bottom, like a viewer. And we've got, so now I'm gonna have poly nukes on the bottom with 7/8 woodenware as the deeps, and now there'll be an issue with the lids, right? The lids fitting correctly, so might have to make some new ones. But I did. Hey, with that being said, now I've got bottom boards for those deeps that I bought and lids. So now I have a full license single deep.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
So you have everything now on the control now.
Yeah, more equipment that I need frames for.
Yeah.
Frames.
So you have to go using a different frame, all right?
No,
Same frames.
No, it'll be
frame.
same frames.
But
Same frame.
So what Bob's trying to do there is he's trying to mimic what we're doing up here. So Brad and Ian over a few years have came up with some really
the
good
double what's it called? Double nukes, and then you put on
triple nukes.
yeah,
So three 6-frame nukes on the bottom, which fit perfectly to 2 10-frame boxes on top. The insides line up, the outsides line up. 2 queen excluders keep the queens down in the nuke boxes, and it works really, really well. So that's what they're trying to copy, I guess, if you would.
But
listen.
Our standard equipment is 3/4 of an inch thickness. In Canada, it's 7/8. So the dimensions on the boxes to line up need to be 7/8, and so that's when I got the licensed nukes, because someone in the chat said, well, they're 7/8. Okay, great. But then when you buy so I assumed, shame on me, that the licensed deep box would also be 7/8 because that's what their nuke box is. But no, it's really thick, which
they are very thick, because they are poly hives and they're quite thick. I think they are 40 mil to 14 mil, so inch and a half, I think. I'm right. I think
let me I can grab it real quick.
Yeah, so they're thick, and they're good in winter. If James have them in Canada, they will probably survive over winter.
There's some people that are using them up here this year, and they're having good success with them, absolutely. But the problem some of the people have up here is the same thing. They don't necessarily interchange with all of the equipment that you have out there. So with those boxes, what we're finding up here is you pretty much need their bottom board. You pretty much need their top board.
Yes, that's right.
So where a standard Langstroth frame, everybody makes parts and pieces for a Langstroth. There's a few variations. There's a few variations between up here in Canada where we use 7/8 wood just to give us that little bit extra R value versus the 3/4 down in the US. But if
different equipment.
But at the same token, if I had to put one of my 7/8 Langstroth boxes on top of one of Lee's 3/4, they would still work. So
yeah. The thing is, the equipment is completely different. You know what he's got them in Europe. It's completely different.
Knock everything out of the way.
We have the same here in some of his equipment. If he's come directly from him, I run a Langstroth, and we have it here in UK, a national. So that's the one. That big difference. That's a big difference.
So
the commercial apiary up the road from it, they got some of the national boxes too.
So when you stack them up,
what from UK?
They don't line up.
No line up. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, so we got the same here. You know, I running most my bees are Langstroths. I got a couple of nationals, but I don't like them. They you know, I like the frame, and you lift the frame. It's big and it's nice pattern of brood. You could see there's everything small. The bees go for swarm very quickly. You miss the cup maybe day, and then they go in. They be on a tree. So
yeah.
very important.
As far as like you talking about doing swarming quick, how do you run your boxes? Single deeps or you running double
Double
deeps?
double deeps,
I run,
double Langstroths. Yeah,
see, I
I do.
run singles.
Do you run them double deep all honey season as well?
But since I starting in the spring, straight away I move him to double. So I'm tell you something. I do checking board. A lot of guys ask him how to doing this uh, wax and changing, frames changing. That's how I do, and I believe this is the key to success to all of our beekeepers because checking boards works if you work. It's nothing work if it doesn't work. The system, if it is a system, someone developed the system, which was been testing for many years, and it works. Even Bob Benny actually mentioned about that checking board is really good. If you watch a few his videos, he's actually mentioned checking boards is a very good one. If you change your frames, it's very good for control of swarming as well. You could do a lot of things, especially in the spring. The most of the time, the bees going for spring swarm straight up in the spring. That's what they're growing up so quick. They don't have space, and then you think, oh, I won't change the frames. So what I do, I change the frames very quickly. Whacking at the box on top. I know there's full whacking in there, moving frames. I'm basically we split them and doing the same way as checking boards, and that way the bees, till they come to a position when there's a floor coming in, they have full power. They will no swarm.
You checkerboard every other one on each box, or just kind of okay.
Bottom and top.
And are you doing that with foundation or drawn comb?
Yes, foundation.
Okay, so that's an awesome way to draw foundation. I did a lot of that last year as well. I don't know if, and I haven't tried it, so I don't have a whole lot of can say yes or no, but I would be a little bit concerned about. I'd be a little bit concerned about trying to checkerboard that to increase my bee population with drawn comb. I don't know if that would work so well.
You could put plastic foundation. That doesn't matter. You could put plastic foundation, and they will draw up as well. Because if it's you could feed them lightly. You could give a little bit feed one by one, so even less than one by one. You could put like, and they will build. They will beautiful frames build. Flow will start. The bees will be in the power, and they will actually work really well. So. And also, you will have benefit. The benefit will be all the frames you will remove from your operation, and basically you will put new fresh, and that is the control of disease as well.
Now, some of them, they don't understand what the checkerboard is or what a vertical checkboard is. Yeah. Vertical checkerboard is like, just say you do every other one, starting with the first frame in one box. The next frame, you start with frame number 2 and work every other one.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Basically, it would look like that right there.
That's the correct one. That's right. Yeah.
But that way, I mean, you're working the first one in this box every other one. Then this one, you go to the second one every other one.
And then you leave it. If you that's double brood. So if it's double brood, that's it. You don't do that on the supers. I don't do that on the supers in honey boxes. Yeah. But in nest, that's quite important because I like to change the comb every 2 years, because that's about part of disease and things like this. You know.
33 Mile Phil said that's how he does it, like the vertical check.
Yeah, perfect, Phil. That's the way it is, and I believe that's stopping swarming massively. Also doing something where people ask me. Before was questions about how stopping swarming. You can't stop them, But if they want to swarm, they will swarm. You'll not stop them. But
You
I
can
do little.
encourage them to stay, but sometimes, like you
Yes,
say, they still gonna-
absolutely. Yeah, you could. Basically, they have to reading your book.
Right.
If you let yourself to reading their book, you lost. Basically, you're gone. You'll be out the beast, and that's how that is. So I do clipping queens. As soon as I know they're laying nicely, they're nice lying pattern. I clip one side, and if she swarms, she'll be on the floor somewhere, lying down on the grass or somewhere next to the hive. I don't need to running on the trees, running on someone chimneys or houses. It's just the easy way to do. Clip them, clip each queen, and that's it. So that's how I do. It's up everybody. Some people say, "Oh, you did the damage queen." No, we done damage. Since I started, I do, and I believe that is easy because if they do, if they're planning go swarm, they will swarm. They were lying down on grass. You just pop the box up, put them back in a nuke box, and you got the bees back. You not lose 600. You're like James mentioned $600. You lose them. Hey, nuke costs you in the spring around about £300. Overwinter nuke, 6 frames, £300. That's how they are in the market right now.
A nuke here in my area, anyway. Last year, I think they were running 185 for a 5-frame nuke.
They run
overwinter one.
Yeah,
overwinter one.
Yeah, actually, I think it was 165 last year. They was wanting 185 for a 5-gallon bucket of honey.
They're talking about your ice cream, James.
Oh, are they? I like my ice cream. That was, we started this right at dinner time, so my ice cream was stuck in the freezer. I was just trying to figure out what 300 pounds was. So that's about
$400.
But, oh, that's a nice ice cream. It's already
Actually,
melted.
300 pound or 300 euros works out to 325 US or 435 Canadian, just to give you an idea.
So, nuke.
A nuke, yeah.
So you're looking like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
If they go for what they did last year, right, James?
Yeah.
That's a big money.
I mean, I'll tell you.
Canadian eating Canadian ice cream in the winter.
Oh.
Florida street families.
I'll show you what it looks like outside my window.
Wow. Yeah, white, snowy.
And that's a really nice day. It's literally, it's like +8 out there today. So I mean, that's a gorgeous day.
So yeah, so basically we run a little bit of the weather what we have in UK is a little bit different. We have to manage it in a different way. What you manage, guys, in the warm area. We have a problem here when we depends what the weather is in the season. We in the mated queens, that is a different when you're breeding queens here. Lot problems because the temperature. We don't sometimes have the temperature. We have sometimes 2 months rain, and that's it. You finish. Even if you have 2 weeks and you have the short window, the queen have to go fly, and it's only about week. Say they got a week, 10 days to fly out. If they not go and fly out in that 10 days, and there's rain coming that 10 days, you know what happened. Finish.
Yeah.
You're done.
What months of the year is your nectar flow, Sebastian?
Well, nectar flow, we start in dandelions starting. That is the first like proper dandelions is like start, and then we got rapeseed oil. But we got sometimes depends of the season. Sometimes it start in March, sometimes start in early April. So it's all about the weather. Now the world's turned all around. Especially last year, we have temperatures here like 37, 38 plus.
Right.
We're talking, nearly 90 Fahrenheit there. That's right. So that's a big, different. We never have that hot like this. That was a very, very hot last year.
At 37 C is 98 Fahrenheit.
Exactly, nearly 100. So that's hot. That's very hot. So perfect for queen breeding. Perfect. But when it's some of the time we have very, very windy and raining, and England's it's island. So we got rain, and when this rain come here, it's coming. It rain and rain and rain doesn't stop.
See, out in my
And
yard right now, we're already starting to get dandelions in here.
wow, they be
I got a couple
that
weeks. I'm usually a couple weeks behind Lace, so
Mhm.
I think I'm probably a couple months behind
Months.
Lee.
yeah. Well, we canola normally one of my apiary where I have canola. Normally they have canola every year there. So we have nice crop last year canola. We have lovely crop canola, and they were dandelion. It was in the same time. Both was same time. So the honey was absolutely amazing. And that's the first one we actually proper flow just in the area starting here. We got some trees, the flat they got pollen and all that trees, but there's no really flow. The flow is the dandelion started. That's the proper pollen for them and start them get it nice nectar from them. Dandelion's honey is really good honey. It's people reckon they are one of the best honey in the world. It's some people say it's the Manuka honey, top one. No, I'm sorry, it's not. Dandelions experts, people, scientists done the work there, and they reckon dandelions honey is one of the best one. Some of the countries actually dandelions is expensive. So
they were considered a noxious weed here in Canada for years and years and years, and then they've realized they're not getting rid of them.
exactly, see, because that's good. I actually have a way in the garden, one of the gardens we have in there, and there's a big one, huge, and you could in the summer you pass that tree down there, and there's a bees there. Everything is every insects in there. What's bumblebee, bee, wasps, hornets, everything is in there. So yeah, that's blackberries and raspberries. That's another thing where you got started after that, but that's later in the season. So
I see, Brad, you were just showing that picture out the window there, that little bit of snow that you got. LaGrange, he's in Canada. I don't remember what part, but this is what he sent me the other day. You could barely see the neighbor's house. It looks like it's just stacked so high.
So where he is?
LaGrange, what part of Canada you in?
Quebec.
Quebec?
Okay, yeah, they get a lot more snow over there because of the Great Lakes. So we're
up at
if you
Quebec.
if you can
Quebec,
consider
that's
this,
east.
It's east of us. Yeah. So if you can say if you could say, we're quite fortunate because I'm on the east side of the Rocky Mountains. So a lot of the air, as it gets pushed up over the mountains, loses its moisture. We're on the backside. So, we get it when we get we just had a polar vortex that came down from up north. So we seem to get the colder weather, not necessarily the large snowfalls like they do down east.
Yeah.
And
so
for the record, they can keep it.
What's the biggest thing what you think is in the beekeeping now? We got issues in the bees in your experience, in what you think, all of you guys, what do you think? The biggest problem what we have in the beekeeping. Varroa is one thing.
Beekeeper.
I think we got two. I'll go first here, guys. I think we have two. So obviously, I think disease control, and more specifically Varroa. I think that's the first one that we're going to get. The other thing that I see we're having a lot of issues with is the political aspect of things. So the constant conflict, if you will, between beekeepers and honey producers. We're never going to, until we can all be united and we can all agree on what a path forward is, and until we can all work together, I think we are handicapping ourselves. So, unfortunately, I think one of the biggest things working against us right now in the beekeepers or the bee industry is political. Like, unfortunately, so many other issues around the world, right?
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, that's right. I believe, like you mentioned, the same. Varroa is one of the biggest problem also other diseases as well. And then I believe another thing is a big problem is the people understand how bees are important, farmers especially. Like we have a lot of farmers around there, and they're spraying pesticides. I think all of not just every countries, but one country or something. They all should be all around the world pushing to the farmers the pesticides that they're using. It's shocking. So I'll give you a little bit idea. Last year we have and that was in end of September, I think it was. We have a conference, like small conference, just a regional one. So it's like you have a small one, not the big ones, but it was a guy from up in Scotland, which he worked to close to the government, but he's on the part of the side of beekeeper side. So he was checking all the pesticides what government sign off to be using, farmers using to on the fields. Okay, so they just to give you examples. So they have the specification on there, and they say, just examples, say 20 bees of this dose will be dying, millions will be live with no problem. That's pass. So when he done it, actually, that in the back in science in office, when they done it, check this actually if that is match what they say on the label, they actually find out that doesn't work like that. That actually is negative to the beekeepers massively, and the products is on the market. They've been lighting a lot of hundreds and hundreds of letters that guy been from prove them. There's no way. There's too much money in there to be removing pesticides from the market or improve them to the way they should be. But they don't because it's about money. So that's how I think the farmers, some of them they're good, they're really good farmers. Some of them really good farmers, I could say. But some of them they don't care about beekeepers. They're just spraying whatever time is lunchtime or whatever that is. Even if the bees flying is a floor nectar, they will go. They will not care.
See,
Some of them they are that bad.
I think you're onto a key point there, but I think this goes back down to communication. So
that's right.
Once again, the farmers benefit from the bees, and the beekeepers benefit from the farmers. All right. So it really comes down to communication, and it really comes down to even if the so you're right. Money is definitely driving it. You know, at the same token, you can't handicap one industry for another one. So I wouldn't expect the grain farmers to not use those pesticides and take a loss in revenue to satisfy the beekeeper. But at the same token, the beekeeper can't take the loss in revenue from the farmer. And that could be just as simple as, you know what, if you've got your bees by that, or maybe it's on that farmer's land, a little bit of communication saying, you know what, I'm going to be spraying this product here. Perfect. Give me a week, give me 2 weeks heads up notice. I can get in there. I can move my bees. I can do what needs to be done. You know, during that period of time when that pesticide is lethal or at lethal dosage, I can bring them back afterwards. You know, what the farmers need to understand is the pollination. Now, not all crops benefit from pollination, and I mean this is where some of the genetics and stuff like that has come in. But you know, communicating back and forth, I think there's ways there where with the pollination, the farmer's going to end up with a much larger crop. With the communication, the beekeepers aren't going to lose their bees. So I think we have to get the grain farmers and the beekeepers talking and communicating. I think that's part and parcel of it as well.
Yes, that's right.
And everybody would win from it.
Yeah, that's another thing where I believe all of associations, beekeeper association or bee farmer association or the people who run them, they should pushing the communicating to the farmers, directly to the farmers. You could talk sometimes local farmers, but some local farmers will listen to you, they will speak to you, they will come to you, and they work with you. Some of them they will not even what do you want? get out. Simple. Bye.
See, as far
So
as like
some of
my,
them,
go ahead.
some of them, they will not listen, and that is, like you mentioned, that key point, communication with the farmers is important, because without the communication, this stuff on the market for them, we're losing and they're losing as well.
Yeah. See, any of my other locations besides my home yard that I have bees on other people's property, basically, I wouldn't say that it's a legal written contract because it's not notarized or signed off. It's just me and the property owner sign it. But we're agreeing that if he needs to do any spraying of a herbicide or pesticide, anything like that, that he can give me 72-hour notice. That way, hey, I can come pick my bees up, take them off the property for a certain amount of time. Once everything's kind of back clear, I can move the bees back.
That's right. Yeah. And sorry, Grange. No, we don't have a small hive beetles here, which is I'm happy. I'm very pleased for that.
Well, see, and that's the thing from like Lee and my perspective, and obviously a lot of us Southern beekeepers. Varroa is a big factor, right? That I guess Varroa definitely hits all the beekeepers, right? But not only do we have to deal with Varroa, we got the small hive beetle, and here wax moths are insane as well. So we have multitudes of things that, fighting that uphill battle, and the farmer, on top of that. So
see, I don't have to worry about regular farmland right around me. I mean, it's a couple hours drive generally, or at least an hour drive till you get to the sugarcane fields, or a couple hours north to soybean or cotton fields.
Yeah. Well, I have bees on the farm, and big farm. They're on like 6,500 hectares of field farms. They have they grow a lot of field beans and a lot of such stuff they grow, and I have bees in there. So there was other beekeepers that try and get in there, but they told them no way. We work together, and what he does, he always tell me what he does. He know where bees are, so if we do something, he will tell me. So I have no issue with that. But some of the beekeepers, they are losing massively bees because of pesticides, and that's a big problem. I believe that is the biggest problem for our industry. And Ian actually did mention about that, and he's grown himself canola and everything. He always try and get improve these things, and that's another thing as well.
I'll be right back.
All around the world, you looking, and they all looking to fight with this in a nice way, basically. So that's the two factors what we have, definitely. Grange mentioned about, no, we don't see that much issue with HB in here. So
be happy with that. Like even like New Zealand doesn't have them. James doesn't have them up there yet. Hopefully, you guys never get them.
You guys can keep them. Everybody tried to send me home from Hive Life with hive beetles, but I wasn't buying that one.
There's you got to see them firsthand when you went to the bug farmer.
Absolutely, I've never killed hive beetles before, but yeah, we were smashing them pretty good down there.
It's actually
the bug farmer.
Yeah.
Wow. You have bag down there. Did you check your pockets?
Did I check my pockets?
Make sure you didn't have any hive beetles in them.
Actually, interesting enough. So while we're on here, I just got a text from one of the beekeepers up here that I'm mentoring, to give you an idea how nice it is up here today. So she's a first-year beekeeper, and I'll just kind of I don't know if you can see it or if it comes through.
I see it. Yeah.
But so she's a first-year beekeeper, so she's out there and she's saying, I just went to visit the girls and I see that there are a few flying, but also noticed some yellow spots all over the area on the snow. Wanted to make sure that is normal. So it's warm enough up here. The girls are out actually doing a cleansing flight.
Nice.
So
your building's going to have bee poop all in it. Well, you keep it at a constant force, so they're still. Right.
Well, I try to. It's actually, I was looking at it here today. We're going to go out there and change
One
some
second,
settings
one
because
second.
I think it was what? Let me just find out here. Give me 1 second, and I'll pull it up. The joys of having it here. So it's up to 5 degrees. Well, 5.5 and 6.2.
You got a
So,
heat wave.
You know, well, you got to remember it is plus 6 degrees outside, right? So
Yeah, it's kind of cold out there, and it's cold in here. That's why I keep getting up, is because of the heating and air guy asked me to check my unit to see if it's going. It's not. I mean, it runs for a few seconds and shuts off. And
so Bob, how many hives do you have? How many hives right now you're running?
I went into winter with around 32, 30, something like that. And right now I'm sitting at about 15, 16, 17, right in that area. So almost 50% loss over the winter. Well, our winter, but our winter is much different than other people's winter, right? So we'll have, like yesterday, it was 70 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius. And today, overnight, it got down. It must have been negative if it was 29, right? So 0 is 32. So we were negative something last night. And so it just constantly up and down fluctuations.
What was that temperature?
When overnight or yesterday?
You was talking about overnight.
29.
So that's like minus 1.6 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, negative 1.6.
But that's not the part that bugs me, right? It's the part that it was 70 and then it dropped 40 degrees. So we're getting these big swings.
Massive drops. Yeah, big swings. So, that's the big swings. Yeah,
and that's pretty stressful on the bees.
Yeah, I say sometimes when it drops that much that fast, they won't have time to get back in that real tight cluster.
And that's wiping me out.
That is another thing. Varroa, Varroa. They love this because the temperature get hit above 70, 80s. It's quite nice for them. And then they drop down. Bees doesn't like the temperature drop down. They go in a cluster, and the Varroas again on benefit of this.
So that's kind of what we're running into. But this week coming up, we're supposed to be, when I look at it, when my low temperatures are where they would normally be flying during the day consistently, then that's good stuff, right? So this week coming up, it's supposed to be getting to that area, and usually around the middle of February, third week in February is when people start doing splits here. So I'm going to try to wait another couple weeks after that. So in this week, hopefully this week coming up, James and I were talking about it. Start grafting some queens. So
this coming week, our temperatures will be back up in the upper 70s, which is about 25 C.
You have drones?
Go ahead.
You have drones, Bob. You have grafting already.
Yeah, I've got some drones walking around and some cap drone cells.
So we were talking a little bit with that. Everybody's absolutely right. You can have all the queens in the world. If you have no drones to mate with them, you have no basically viable queens. But Bob, actually, I think you've had drones walking around for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
And Eddie's got a lot of cap drone cells or cap drone brood already. So, one of the things I was working with Bob a little bit earlier today is so first off, I give him lots of recommendations. What he chooses to do, he does on his own. So we're just going to throw that out there, But one of the things that anybody that's thinking of grafting, so try it, absolutely try it. And if you don't get any success, that just tells you that you've got to succeed a different way. So don't
give up.
I've heard everybody say, "Well, I can't see." Big deal. Get a magnifying glass.
You can.
What did you say, Lee? $29. Buy a camera. Don't let that stop you. Graft. But here's one of the things that, if I can get it across to anybody, here's one of the things that I found to be successful for when I graft is don't plan on the day you're grafting. That will tell you. Plan on the day that you want to either place the cell or release the queen. That's what dictates when you graft. Work backwards. So if you know you're going to be around, and I use cells, I like the cells. I try to put the cells in there because with a sideliner, I'm working Monday through Friday. So I have to drop my cells in Saturday or Sunday. So I'll go forward and I'll figure out what that Saturday or Sunday is, and then I'll work the time frame back. And by doing that, it tells me what day I'm grafting on. So I can graft in an evening quite easily, right? But if nobody, I think that I mentioned it, Bob, too, and I mentioned it to all of my students that take my courses, my classes. If you learn nothing else, learn the life cycle of a bee. If you're going to graft, know what that life cycle of that queen bee is.
Very important.
Exactly, from egg to hatch, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need to know. And if you work backwards, you don't have to say, well, I think I'm going to graft today. If you work backwards, you know when you're going to put that cell in here, you know when you want to release that queen, when she's going to hatch, and you can very closely figure out when she's going to hatch within like 12 to 24 hours. So it's just work backwards, and don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Absolutely, you can. Go out there and try it.
That's what you said too. I mean, even if you fail, you still learned. You learn what not to do for next time, and
So I give you idea something. I will give you good tips to the people listen now and wherever listen. So I'm talking to Mike Palmer quite often. So I'm doing his queen breeding his way, and probably you know what start a lot work in it, but I love it. And you could practice small larvae, a big larvae. I practice you moving, grafting in the right angle, frames important, and also you could take a bigger larvae. You could move them in. I'm not saying you have to put them in the hive. You could practice just a few of them, how you do it, and then you move into the smaller one. If you move in the smaller one, then you will see the difference. How easy is move the big ones, how easy move the middle ones, and how difficult it is move the tiny one, which one we want it. And so that way is the easy way learn. And I'm sure you can get that. And that's what just Lee show you on the camera. That is another stuff you could buy some all your toys now, cameras and all the glasses, but you can practice, and that practice you could done even on the drones. All right, when you put a drones for drones, basically frame for drones, when they're small, they are small. You practice on them, and you could see how easy to take them out or difficult. Everybody will learn this, and that way, if you don't move them that way before you actually move to the reality, it's easy done for a couple of frames just to practice and then move on. And you will see if you fail, you come back again, do it again. Don't give up. Don't give up.
And the other that's perfect. That's great advice. And the other thing too is if you can't see in there, destroy the cell beside it to get the one you want. Big deal, right? Do what you need to do, but you'll very quickly, as soon as you try it, you're going to see how easy it really is. So grafting queens is no big secret. It's
I keep telling myself it's too cold to do that, too cold to do that. And then I watched that video last night where Michael Palmer's standing out in the snow, grafting queens on top of his colony. I'm like, what in the world? He says you don't have to worry about the temperature of the larva that much, just the humidity.
So you want to keep your warm, damp cloth right there. Keep those cells covered up. That is key.
Yeah.
But that's also something you're going to learn.
It's a I like Palmer. I was watching a lot of his stuff before, and I actually speak to him personally a couple of times, not just a few, quite a couple of times. I enjoy actually speaking to him and his way how Michael coming into the bees, how he you know, how he responds to the bees, how important the bees for us as for the beekeepers. And for me, you know, I have massive respect for this man. And for me, it's just wow.
He actually grafts in the dark too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
With just the headlight.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, he's in his age, he's running 500 colonies.
Yeah. If anybody wants to see how hard it is or how easy, maybe that's a better way to put it. I actually videoed on all my channels the very first time I attempted to graft. You know, it's on there, and I remember sitting back in my garage and I got it out, and I still remember to this day because it's like, well, here we go. We're never done it before, right? And I videoed it all, and I videoed it all the way through, and I think I had like 85% success on the first go, the first try. So the only thing that was holding me back to doing that was actually trying to do it. You know, once I did it, it's like, this isn't magic. This is pretty simple, right?
And if you look at it like walking when you were a baby, if you would have failed the first time or two and then never tried it again, how are you going to walk in life?
I still have a hard time. I still have a hard time walking. I got 2 left feet.
Yeah, I do too. Don't ask me to dance.
But that's another stuff as well. You know, everybody have trying different. I remember I came in the room to ask Martin mentioned he's sitting in the car and he's doing grafting. Sometimes he have to do that on the hives. Sometimes it depends where you are. It depends on situation you're in. Some people have preparation grafting. They are prep, you know, typical hive or couple of hives area. They have a shed over there or cow, whatever, and they're grafting. So it's all about they know the size of the larvae. And this is all about you, how you preparation the larvae. It's about the frame, like James mentioned, I mentioned as well. If you're watching Bob is actually do a video last year, if I'm right, when he actually show the step by step how he do grafting, how we preparation, starter, finishing, everything, and he's locked the frame in there with the queen. A couple of days later, come back, graft there. It's all about the timing, and the size of the larvae, and everything can be done.
Yeah, are you able to bring up that one there from Lagrange Bees where he says his first grafting attempt went poorly? You know, 2 out of 60. 2 out of 60, right off the bat, I would say, I don't think that went poorly. You got 2 out of 60. Man, that's good.
It's 2 more than you had.
Right. But
you're more each of 2 queens.
You already have, exactly. You've already got 2 queens. But I was going to say, here's one thing that I would, and I think that was your first attempt. So kudos, bonus to you for even trying. Way to go. But one thing I would say is, if you're going to do this the first time, maybe don't try 60. Maybe try 15 or 30 or something. And the reason I say that is 15 or 30 really well grafted cells is better than 100 poorly grafted cells.
Absolutely.
Okay? And here's one of the things that I learned. I had to learn this the hard way. And I always seem to learn the hard way. If you're grafting and you don't cover those cells up and don't keep them, you know, the humidity up, they're done.
They're gonna dry out.
If you shake or tap that bar when you've got it grafted, they're done. Treat these things like the most gentlest eggs you can find out there. That is what they are. You know, treat them that way. Try to do 15 or 30, and I'll make you a bet that you're going to go from 2 out of 60, which is a great success. I don't want to take anything away from that. That's perfect. You did it. Yeah. But try a few less and put more attention into those few of them. And I'll make you a bet you will go from 2 out of 60 to 14 out of 30, or maybe 25 out of 30. Kudos to you for trying. Absolutely, you're already on your way. But that would be a little tip that I'd give you.
And one of the things you emphasized with me was making sure that colony that you're
It's
using is packed. Like if
Yeah.
you think you have enough bees, you don't. Put more bees.
Add more.
Absolutely. I can't stress that
So-
enough. That's something I
so-
learned the hard way too.
So I'll tell you something. Bob, I was watching Bob and when they went to up in Werners, then when the breeding queens. And the one thing, guys, is important. It's not about the size of the bees, but they are nurse bees. They make sure there's lots of nurse bees.
Nurse bees,
And
absolutely. Yep.
so Bob actually mentioned about this as well. He said, make sure you put a brood you could see when it start actually coming out. That is a brood where you want to put in the hives, in the starters, because that is when you put your grafts in, they will kicking out. They will be just fill up like mad. One thing what James mentioned, Grange, I would put maximum 20 grafts, and I will get 20 by probably 15 or 18 in there. And I'll be very happy.
Well,
Because
you're absolutely
because this if
Go
you
ahead.
put lots of them, they will even not take them. And also is all your preparation, how you prep the frames, the timing, how you done the timing. So basically you might put one frame there with small larvae, and that will kick it up. They will not take it on. That's why probably they took it only 2 instead of looking after, because they did have looking after different brood. Instead they look in this brood.
Yep.
So if they did have nothing on the frames and just your graft, they will take a lot more. So
Well,
always
and
make
that's-
sure.
Exactly. That's part of what I was telling Bob earlier today too. You're perfect. So
Good appetite, Bob.
Thank you. Like the plate, man.
Yep. There you go. So, but one of the things is it depends what you're using for, and I'm going to back up here a little bit. If it's the first time that you've grafted queens and it's the first time you're attempting to graft queens, take the time to say, okay, what can I do? What can I control? So far too often you'll hear about us that graft queens. You know what? We've got a starter, cell, and then we will finish them in a queen right cell or into the incubator. Forget about all of that. If this is the first time you're grafting queens. If this is the first time you're grafting queens, set yourself up a cell starter and finisher. Simplify the process until you understand the timing. And the nurse bees, that's the most important. I was telling Bob earlier because he was saying he's going to set one of these up, and I says, I think Bob said he was going to use a 6-frame nuke box. Perfect. So set your 6-frame nuke box up if you can. You want to have a real good resource frame right next to your grafting frame. Okay, you want those bees to be able to just go back and forth and pick up that bee bread and that nectar and feed those larvae. You want at least 2 frames of hatching brood. Okay, and you want those nurse bees to come out, and the first thing they're going to be looking for things to do, they're going to clean their cell, and now, okay, who can we help raise? Who can we help feed? Right? You're gonna want bees. Pack that box with bees. I was telling Bob, shake the bees in there, and the reason you want to shake them in there is all the field bees they're gonna bugger off. They're gonna fly back home. Okay, and then when you think you have enough bees in there, you don't. Put the lid on and shake another 2 or 3, 4 frames of bees in the front until they're walking in, and guess what? They can't get in anymore. When you can't get any more bees in there and it's absolutely packed, I would say you might have enough bees, right? The more, I can't stress that enough. The more, the better, right?
And some of that depends on how many you're trying to graft too. Like you were saying, you could do it in a 6-frame box, right?
But you're not going to be able to get 60 cells out of a 6-frame box.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Some people say, oh, you have to have a deep or you have to have a double deep.
No,
that depends on how many grafts you're doing too.
Exactly. So if you've got a 6-frame box, I would say 2 bars of 10, you're probably all right. And then figure out what you want to do. So as I was mentioning, it's perfect because Bob and I had this conversation earlier. So if you're grafting and you're only looking to make 10, let's say 10 queens, so graft 20 cells. If you have more than 10 queens, guess what? You can give them away, sell them. You can do whatever you want. But at least you got
some
what.
Don't take. You got backups.
Absolutely,
you can requeen one of your poor colonies.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing is plan on what you're going to do with that starter finisher colony afterwards. So if you've got plans for, let's say, 9 of those queens, well, you can leave one of those queens in that starter finisher colony, which is full of brand spanking new bees. You've got yourself one heck of a kicking nuke at the end of all of that, right? So don't think that you're taking the bees from your other colonies and they're going to waste. They really aren't. So I'll just touch bases with a couple of these things that Laurent put up there. So my problem in my cell builder was I didn't wait long enough. Some of the larva was too young, and I should have waited a week, destroyed any queen cells, and then that's in the graft. Absolutely. So I was mentioning that to Bob earlier too. So when you build your cell starter and finisher, you want to do it 24 to 48 hours before. So if you put those frames in there of capped brood, you want to go back in 24 hours, or maybe even a little bit longer, 36 hours afterwards, and you want to knock down any cell that's in there. Part of the reason you used not sure what's going on there. There you are. I was going to say part of the reason you use the capped brood is because most of the eggs on that frame are going to be of the same age. And if there's 1 or 2 that's in there that they can or they do decide, because of course they're hopelessly queenless at this point, you can go in there and you can knock that cell down. And then by that time, every other egg or anything that's in there is now too old for them to make a queen from. So that's why you want to have that timing in there.
Yeah, that's right. It's very important.
Absolutely. And then the last one. So advantage of making videos, I was able to review what I did and figure out where my mistakes were. Absolutely. That's how my whole YouTube channel started. It wasn't so much to share it with everybody else. It was an easy way for me to make my documentation of what I did and didn't do right, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, if you have 1 queen cell in there after you bring those capped brood over, you're done. You have to take the time, go through every single one and make sure there is no cell in there that they can start a queen from.
Well, how long is too long to build your finisher, your starter finisher in advance?
Well, think about the cycle of a bee, right? So the egg gets laid on day 1, right? 3 days later, that egg hatches. After that, for the next 3 days, they all get fed. They all get fed royal jelly. At that point, things change, whether they're going to get fed royal jelly and become a queen, worker jelly and become a worker, and of course drone, well, that's self-explanatory. You don't have to worry about it. So if you're grafting when they've already hatched, you're already on day 4 or day 1, depending how you want to look at it. And then 24 hours after that, they're there. And 24 hours after that, so 48 hours after you grafted, there's no cell in there that they can make a queen from, right? So that's the timing. That's why I say if you take nothing else from it, understand the time or the life cycle of that bee from egg to when they hatch. It's critical.
We hijacked the show.
Uh-oh, we lost him.
Hopefully you didn't get hacked.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's the next thing. And I just figured, and we talked about it, if the queen breeder down the road can have queen cells in the first week of March, then there's no reason why I can't have queen cells in the first week of March.
Absolutely.
So
and don't wait for somebody else to have queen cells. If you've got drones walking around and you've got capped drone brood, that brood's already capped, right? So by the time you graft and you get through the 16-day cycle of egg to hatching of a queen, all of those capped drone are already going to be hatched out. So whatever you've got cap drone in there right now, that's going to be out. It's going to be fully developed, and they're going to be mature long before your queens come out of the queen cell.
Because you're still going to have several days after the queen hatches, because she's going to be in the hive another 4 or 5 days for her exoskeleton to harden, her to strengthen up before she can even go out on a flight, mating flight.
Exactly. Yep. It looks like his system crashed. So.
Uh-oh. Well, so what do we do?
Well, I mean, everybody can still ask some questions. I do have to. I got about another 5, maybe 10 minutes.
Yes, me too.
And then I got people coming over to help finish the rest of the boxes, because once again, I got to move off of the boxes and I got to get going onto the frames. So
I've got to go find some heating system for my house.
There you go.
To make it through the next couple of days. Oh, here we go.
He's going to get her back in here. So I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. I mean, once again, all of these things that I'm putting out there, this is what I do. So I give everybody the same, what do you want to call it? Blank statement that I give Bob all the time. Hey, he's back. Welcome back.
Something happened. I don't know what happened.
We're going to blame it on Bob.
Yeah, it works. I got broad shoulders.
There you go. First round always takes longer than the calendar says for me. The only thing that will delay that calendar, let me back up. Very, very little will delay that calendar. What you'll do is that calendar usually comes off the way it is anyway. So you might end up with a queen that's not as good. But there are a couple things that will delay the cycle. One is temperature. So, and I noticed this in my incubator. If I do not have my temperature set right, if it's a little bit cool, they'll take a little bit longer. Now, if I got a little bit warmer, they seem to hatch out a little bit earlier. And the other part of that is the nutrition that you have for that, those nurse bees to feed that queen, or to feed that larva, if you will. So
now, what temperature do you have in your incubator?
I'd have to go back out and take a look. It's right around, I think, 93.4 or something like that.
Yeah, about to say a bunch of them says right around 93, which 33.8 C.
So a bigger question here. So when we splitting spring, will you replace all queens as well?
So Bob, this is a lesson I think Bob is learning the hard way right now.
Yep.
So I absolutely do. I have no queens in my apiary. At the end of the second year, I will requeen. I will pinch them off. And part of the reason I do that up here is I want a fresh queen coming out of the bee barn, ready to hit the ground running first thing in the spring. My season up here is so short. I don't have the luxury or I can't afford the time to get a new queen in the beginning of the year and still capitalize on our honey flow, which peaks right around the summer solstice.
So
me personally, sorry Bob, me personally, I will requeen it in my area. I will requeen straight away. If I know she's got to go, then she will be gone straight away. I will requeen it with new fresh. I will make sure I graft and make sure it's my queen, what I want in my operation. Some of area you could buy queen already mated very early year, which is imported from somewhere part of Europe in here, or so that's how I would done. I will requeen if she went through winter, she's still a good queen, but if she's 2 years, she might be performing. For the spring may be perfect, but the summer honey might be very, very poorly. So very important. Requeen them straight in the spring. That's the way it is.
Yeah, my number one hive last year, that queen was a 2020 queen, so she was going into her third season, but she was still laying solid bricks of brood on both sides of the frame, about 4 frames wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So
I guess where I'm saying is I don't have the luxury to, if I have to requeen,
take the chance.
Yeah, if I have to requeen, I'm gonna say, I mean, they come out of the barn, they take a little bit to get spooled back up, right? But if I see she's not spooled back up, I don't even blink. I will pinch her off and I will replace her in a heartbeat, because I just don't have the luxury. 2 weeks, I miss the majority of my flow. So I mean,
Right.
yeah, you just don't have the luxury.
So back to what my issue, the lesson I'm learning the hard way, right? So I did a video where I went and picked up 5 nukes at a little bit of a discount because they never got picked up by the people who actually ordered them, right? So I got them at a discount. They were Carniolan colonies, and they hit the ground running. Boom, blew up, right? Biggest colony. Well, the problem with the nukes, you don't know how old that queen is in that nuke. They may say it was overwintered, and yep, it was overwintered. However, how many other winters was it in a colony before that became a queen in a nuke that you're now getting that's been overwintered, right? So you may get that 1 year and you're like, oh, well, she's kicking butt. She's going to be great. But she shuts down in the winter or in the spring and the colony's dead. And that's kind of out of those 5 nukes that I bought that were slam packed when I got them, only one remains today. And they were brand new this year.
So this is another thing. So when I started, I just give to all of beekeepers, if you're new to the beekeeping, if you want to start the beekeeping, so don't make mistakes. Take with you experienced beekeeper or your mentor and go check the nuke before you actually take it. Do not trust the beekeeper. Whatever he say, I could say I have gold in a box,
Right.
diamonds flying in a car, but the bees flying. That's okay. But then when you open, the frames tell you everything.
Absolutely.
Because if you take the frames and you inspect the nuke inside, and then you tell you everything. If it's the brood, nice pattern of brood, that is the queen of that nuke. A lot of beekeepers, I'm not say, but some of them do. They put 5 frames from different nukes, from different hives, and they're whacking queen in there. And there's like a week later, the queen is outsold. And they could tell you there's a bees overwintering. They are not overwintering.
Absolutely. So
very important check, because I learned lessons as well, Bob. I was the first nuke, and I learned lessons hard way as well. And I never do it again, never ever. Yeah. And I always my customers that come, I always show them nuke. I always call them day before, show them, say, look, have a look the nuke. This is how it is. I don't want to show you, give you a crap. You have to go see what's in there. Customer number 1.
Unfortunately, it's buyer beware. So I'll tell you what I did last year, and then we'll deal with Dennis's concern down here. So I had lots of I'm not going to call them complaints. I had lots of callbacks from everybody that I sold nukes to last year. And the callback or the complaint I got is, I don't have enough boxes. The bees are absolutely busting at the seams, right? And that's what I want. So I won't sell a nuke if it's not up to my standard. And I had a lot of people last year. They're like, I don't have enough boxes like these. They actually were phoning and complaining that my nukes were too strong, and I'm all right with that.
Perfect. They should be happy.
I'm absolutely all right with that. So
good.
Now the other thing that I did, and of course, as I get more and more nukes, I won't be able to continue to do this. But one of the things that I did have a couple of people phone back and said, you know what, I got no queen. Well, you definitely had a queen in there because I check every one of them before they go. So I drove out to that beekeeper's, actually 4 or 5 of them last year. I drove out to 5 different beekeepers. Some of them are an hour and a half out of town. And we went into their hive, and it's like, pull it out, and well, here's your queen. Like, your queen is right here. And I couldn't find her. And I was then, well, here's the eggs, and I'm okay with that too. Right, because I was there. I was that beekeeper that, people, and the reason I'm okay with that is those are the people that actually care about their bees.
Absolutely.
So I'm okay to go out and spend a little bit of time with those people, because I know those bees are going to be well looked after. Now, with Dennis's question down here, so I'm concerned how I could store or keep queens as long as possible in case I need one.
Nuke box.
There's So I'll give you my take on that. If I'm going to have a queen caged for more than 2 weeks, she's no good to me. Okay. Some people will tell you that you can castle them and you can keep them in a cage forever. A queen that doesn't get a chance to lay or doesn't get a chance um, well, for lack of better terms, practice, if you will. When you take that queen out, her quality is going to be greatly reduced. It's going to be lower. The longer the queen is caged, the lower your quality of that queen is going to be. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get her spooled back up. What I'm saying is for myself, I want high quality, high producing queens. So I won't keep a queen caged up for as short as I possibly can. And if I need to keep a queen like that, what I'll do is I will put her in a nuke box and I will rob from her continuously, and give her new drawn comb. So really, I'm not caging her. I'll put her in a smaller nuke box, so I will limit the amount that she can lay a little bit, but I won't cage her. I won't keep her in there. I'll cage her in a nuke box where she can continually lay, and I'll pull those frames of brood out and put them in the other. Well, boost up some lesser or weaker colonies, but I wouldn't keep her in a cage.
The same way I will keep it. It's the same. If I don't have anywhere to put basically the brood, here's a all full, and I will put another top on the top in the nuke box, so the double storage nuke box. And
I'm reading the comment down below. It wasn't sorry. This ninjas with Star Trek cloaking devices.
Yeah, like you said, as far as keeping a queen from laying, if you got her caged up, their ovaries will start to shut down. It's like they can't produce what they need to produce, so they start shutting parts of the body down, I guess you'd say. Yeah. And then if you're lucky if you can get her to kind of rolling again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, like I said, if you're going to try and keep her, you don't keep her in a small cage. Don't keep her in any of those.
No.
You can do that for a day, 2, 3, maybe as much as a week, but you want to get her out of there and you want to get her going as soon and as quick as you can.
As soon as possible. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So the best way, keep them in nuke over. Even if you won't go over winter, you got spare one, you could keep it. If you have polynuke, I know some beekeepers back in Poland, they keep in bees in nukes, small nukes, polynukes, but they have to be polynuke.
Yeah.
Because the size of the nukes, there's the warm temperature keep them inside for quite a long time, so they could survive with 2 frames of bees, and they will go over winter lovely. So you could get a lot of queens like this in small colonies on 2 frames. You overwinter them, and they will be perfect in the spring. As soon as you lose any queens in the spring, or you have drone layer, you could have very quickly change that very quickly.
So I haven't tried over in winter the 2 frame nukes here. I've overwintered 5 frame nukes.
Yeah. But wood one, I'm right, Lee? Wood one.
Yeah, 3/4 wood.
You should try, guys. The listen one or Bob half. Try and overwinter in that nuke box. Try them overwinter in that nuke box.
I'm wanting to get a couple of them and try to do it like Brad and James and Ian and all of them got on. Try to do the 3-way nukes on bottom with the 10 frames on top.
So to answer Dennis's comment there too, 2 frame nukes with some nurse bees and swap out foundation, you could. That's a lot of management. As Bob has found out, I wouldn't. For myself, a 2 frame nuke is nothing more than a mating box, and I wouldn't use it for anything but a mating box.
No 2 frames, no. 5 frames, 6.
That's just my take, and that's my management. So I'm not going to say you can't do it, but I would only use a 2 frame box as a mating box or mating nuke. And the other one there too is, if you can't, as a new beekeeper, you can't find your queen, I mark all of my queens, and I mark all of my queens for 2 reasons. Well, actually, I guess 3. So one, if I didn't do my job properly and I'm trying to fish him out of the trees. and that's all this guy, right? I basically didn't do my job properly. I want to know if I'm recovering my queen or if I'm recovering somebody else's queen. So I want to know, hello from India. That's awesome. So I want to know if it's my queen. So I paint all of my queens. So that's the first reason. The second reason is I don't have a hard time finding my queen, but I really have to make sure that my hive inspections go in a timely manner. So anything that I can do to assist that hive inspection and do it quickly will help me. And of course, the last one I do is I mark my queens so I know how old my queens are. You know, just basically get in. I don't have to guess. If I know I've got a white queen, guess what? She's gone. I know what year she hatched. I know where she came from. So do you have to? No, but I do. So if you choose not to mark your queens, which is completely fine, that's your management style. When you go in to try and look for the queen, everybody spends a pile of time trying to find that one bee.
Yeah, that's right.
A tip of advice I'll give you is don't try to find that one bee. Try to look for the bee that's different, if that makes sense. That was something that I had an individual tell me. I was always, when I first started out, I had a hard time trying to find the queen, but I was trying to compare all the bees to find which one it is, and I gave up on that. And what I started doing is I started looking for the bee that was acting different. I wanted to find that bee that was pushing the others out of the way, and away it goes. And all of a sudden, if you do that, you will find it much, much easier to find that queen.
Hey guys, I got to run. I apologize. I've been on for 2 hours, but I got to run because I got to go down to the store and try to get some heaters for the house. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for your coming. Yep. Massive thanks very much. You did the 2 hours sitting here, so I'm really pleased you managed to come in.
Well, you've got guys all the way from India. That's awesome. Way to go.
Spanning the globe.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I got quite few people. But I actually, if you're looking on, I think it's finished now. You can't see on the chat, but I have when I was speaking to Ian. I have live with Ian and Bruce. There was quite few people from. I was from China. We have one person. It was but it was from Australia. There was quite few people actually from all around the world was watching. So
that's nice.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that's very very nice. You know, you like people there. Communication is coming on there everywhere. So it's really good. So. I just posted. Guys posted on the bottom where you from, all of you. If you could post it there and what area part of US. Thanks, Bob.
Good night, guys.
Thanks very much, Bob.
And unfortunately, I'll have to bugger off here pretty quick.
Yeah,
too.
that's okay.
I do want to say thank you for the invite. This has been great. Anytime I can get on here and talk bees with fellow like-minded individuals, I enjoy it.
James, if you don't mind, we could organize once in a month. We could do chat about all of stuffs and picking stuffs and
absolutely.
If Lee agreed, then we could do. Bob, I'm sure Bobby will not mind do it as well. We could do once in a month.
And if your viewers have any specific questions, if you want to do that, I'd be all absolutely. I'd come back on here. But if they have any specific questions, if they send them to you or they can send them to Lee and you want to fire them off to me, then I can maybe put a little bit of a presentation together to explain how I do things and why I do them that way.
Yeah. So thanks very much, James.
Alrighty. Well, have a great evening. I guess. What time is it over there now? It's got to be.
I'll tell you, 23:15, 15 past 11.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Sounds like what we get into. The next thing you know, we're up at 2:00 in the morning talking bees.
I don't mind. I work at night, James, so I'm okay.
Excellent.
I'm working nights. Well, I'm home now, but because of our weekends. But normally from Sunday night to Friday morning, I'm work. So that's why sometimes I'm popping up watching you guys when I'm on tea breaks or I have spare couple of minutes and I watch you down there.
Excellent.
That's what I was telling them before. As far as tonight, I wouldn't be able to do anything. During the day, I was good, but I got family coming over here in a little bit too.
Yeah.
Finally going to get together. Everybody got a day off.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks, James. Thanks.
You betcha. And
thanks for your time.
Have a good night.
See you next time.
And all your watchers. See you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, James.
See you later. Yeah. So Lee, yeah, thanks for you as well attending. So that's really
inviting me over.
Yeah, it was really nice, and also, you know, we took a couple of points on grafting, on the varroa. But you mentioned one thing. You mentioned about the hive beetles before we off. What are you doing with the hive beetles? How you manage them?
I treat my ground around all of my hives, for one thing, to just kind of help to break the cycle. So if any larva does come out of the hive, they'll drop in the ground to try to pupate. Well, yeah. I treat my ground that way. It kills them before they can pupate into a hive beetle. But then, I mean, we've been trying the peppermints. It seemed to help reduce them a little bit. But I do put the little kind of square black beetle barns in there too.
Yeah. What, inside the hives?
Yes, sir. Inside the hive.
But did you see one of my live chat with Greg Barnes?
I started watching it last night. I hadn't finished it.
He was talking about hive beetles. He put the black plastic on it's like material black one on the bottom of the hives. As soon as the black beetles popping up on that, is finished, because the heat of the temperature of the black plastic is just
it'll basically dry out.
Because they can't go anywhere, because they normally go, like you say, they get poop in the soil, so they can't go. Oh, okay. Well, that's some good to know as well. So that's well, I put them salt underneath hives. That's how I do. So I put salt underneath the hives to take them out, basically, all of ants or anything, like, you know, and also the weeds not growing much as well.
Okay. I've heard some of them putting the like salt that you would buy for either a swimming pool or like water softeners.
Yeah. You put it underneath, the weeds will kill them. They basically, even grass will not like to grow.
Yeah, it changes the salinity of the soil.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's all science.
And they can't go in there and pupate.
Basically, if there's too much soil in salt in the soil, they will not be growing anything in there.
Correct.
So that's the science, and you know, I'm the gardener, so I know exactly.
You got to adjust your pH.
Oh, my pH. If I put too much there, there's no chance I'm growing nothing. That'd be burning.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks, Lee. Thanks you come in. I'm shutting down. Thanks, guys. Anyway, everybody who was coming in the chat and comments in there. Thanks very much from all around the world. I could see people from India, Canada. We have here. Michigan, Alabama, Ohio, and we got Mississippi, India Daily, Vermont, US, South Carolina, Texas, and obviously UK, Louisiana, which is Lee, come from Louisiana. Where's Bob? Yeah, Bob. Where's Bob from? Bob is
South Carolina.
South Carolina as well, yeah. So yeah, it's quite a few. So thanks very much, and see you for the next time. And we will definitely, if you have any questions, anything, we will make sure we can ask some. I'm going on 25th of February. I could tell you, I'm going to show here. It's in like High Life show, but it's possibly be big as well. Okay. We don't know yet, but it's a big in UK. So I'm going down there, so I will make some sweet short videos and shorts. Some, you know, I will try interview someone Grange, like Grange mentioned about one of these, which I like him as well. I know him. He's not far from me. Grange is. I'll tell you who's that be. He's
about the Gwen.
No, Gwen is a long way from me. Gwen is a long way from me. It's the Brooklands.
Brooklyn's honeybees.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so he's
I
not
can't
far
remember
from.
his real name, but I'm sub to him. And he's subbed
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So he's not far from me. So I'm going to see him probably if he's coming to the show. I will see him.
Okay.
We sometimes do text each other because we have our numbers. So but he's a really nice. He's got a really nice channel as well. So yeah.
I look
But
forward to seeing those videos when you get them posted.
Yeah, I will make sure this year our plan is get on grafting a little bit, how I'm breeding, how I'm setting my colonies for breeding queens. This is what I'm doing. So this is big project this year for me. Push massively on the breeding queens. Once is I want to do for myself, but also for local around the area here and club and all that stuff because there's a shortage in UK. We have you can import the queens from Europe, but you got a lot license you have to get, all the paperwork. There's a lot of politics in that. And so yeah, so I will try to do myself breeding queen heavily here. So yeah.
I'll be looking for it.
Yeah. So
But
have a nice one.
I appreciate you invite me on, and we'll see you on another one.
Thanks, Liam, and have a good rest of the weekend.
You too. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.